Hey guys, I'm Junior here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie The Babysitter, Killer Queen. Of course, this is a part of the monthly horror reviews that I've been cooking up. This is apparently a sequel to The Babysitter, a movie I've yet to watch, but after watching this one, I'll definitely go back afterwards and check it out. But in order to do this, I decided to just review this movie independently of the first movie, as I am of a belief that a movie can stand independently of its predecessor, depending on certain elements, but the first movie may change my mind, who knows? Uh, so anyways, we start off with this movie with a montage of, well, the first movie, so I kind of got a grasp of what the movie was about in a sense, which is why I want to check it out afterwards. We follow Cole after his little montage of saying the the events of what happened and how he was avoiding a cult of blood hunting people that wanted his blood specifically. Uh, and this movie, in general, I would say, has a big fascination with Terminator 2 because they mention it quite a few times in this movie. I believe they mention it like 3 times in the movie. Uh, we have Davis, the psychiatrist slash doctor, who tells him to get laid, which apparently is very important to later in the movie. So he meets up with Melina, his current love interest, and while he's talking with her, everything seems to be moving in slow motion. Uh, they are met up with other individuals, one named Diego and another girl named Boom Boom. Um, and as they are going into their school, they meet a new individual named Phoebe, a transfer student, who makes quite the entrance, getting everyone off of her back. So she takes a seat, and it kind of grabs his attention. So, meanwhile, after that little bit, uh, Cole returns to, he's like still mulling about. And he talks with Melina a little bit via when he gets home, but the father barges in and thinks that there's more to what's going on with these two, that they're in a relationship and they're doing some online get together. Uh, but in the next day of school, Mel presents that all the other students have these issues and problems, and it shows all these little bar things that independently show what their problems are, except for the problem of Phoebe, the new character that was introduced. Um, so, anyways, uh, they get he gets this paper that tells him that he is going to be switched over to another school, one that will change him for either likely the worst. And he tells Mel about this, and she gives him an ultimatum of you're either gonna get, put in by your parents to go to this other school, or you can leave with me. So they end up doing that. So while they leave, that being Cole and Mel, to go on their little adventure because he chooses Mel, the parents quickly check in on one of the neighbors. Meanwhile, Cole is at a store where he's given a little bit of a tip advice from the lady, uh, who gives him the big condom for the more money. So they go towards this party. Cole, he's talking about how he doesn't fit in, and this party definitely doesn't feel right. But he eventually is convinced to toss his pills away, and him and his friends go in a boat. So, Cole goes in with Mel, and they go into the closet because they are paired up, and they end up kissing for a little bit. After the fact, one of them brings up the blood cult from the first movie. And he's a bit caught off guard because he had told Mel certain elements of it, other than this one book that she brings up, that catches him off guard. In the process, I think it was Mel who kills Boom Boom, and of course Cole is freaking out. And all the people from the previous movie come back, returned to life, to haunt Cole once more for the ritual of this cult of devil worshipper bringers that are have a chance to stay if they get his blood, I guess. So Cole manages to bring up the weapon that was used and tosses it and makes his way. Phoebe had made her way there, kind of was a little bit thrown off, saw the body, kind of didn't know what was going on, but Cole convinced her to make some distance. So Mel was able to create a fire path that leads them from the boat to the littler boat, the jet ski, that leads to where Cole and Phoebe drove off to. But Phoebe decides to go off on her own and bumps into this banjo player, and he eventually reveals his darker intentions, which Cole was already ready for. However, one of the 6 evils, named Sonia, has a flamethrower ready for the 2 of them. But Cole runs her over, and they cut off her head. The other 5 arrive, and or 6 more, because there's 7 of them, I believe. And the 2 groups, or the 6 of them, split up into 2 groups of 3, having very little chemistry, to the point of literally splitting up into the 2 groups that they do. So, while that's going on, Phoebe and Cole are underneath the car with these snakes and dealing with that. And they manage to barely escape. The 2 take a little bit of a break. Meanwhile, we see that the 2 fathers, the one of Cole and the one of Mel, are chilling out and smoking some weed. Meanwhile, Phoebe and Cole run into the redhead journalist, and Cole is trying to convince her not to chase them down by using her previous knowledge to his advantage, saying, oh, it would be a scoop. And she's caught off guard a little bit, giving them enough time to work their way down towards this cliff face where they trap her and cut off her head from her body. Then the rest of her body is smashed by a boulder. And we get another wielder, one of the cult members, Max, and fights them with an axe. And Cole and Phoebe retort with the objects and weapons that they have nearby. Phoebe slides to get her bag, and they manage to get towards an escape. So they rush to a boat and get on the boat, but the boat requires a code, and Max kind of just gives it to them accidentally while being stupid. Meanwhile, he gives chase in this little raft as they're on the water again, and Phoebe uses the silly string that they got from earlier and uses a flame repellent to catch the silly string on fire. And Cole uses the boat to have Max go under and get torn to shreds. Meanwhile, at the docks, John is already there, one of the other individuals. And Diego, one of the cult leaders, is done with this, so he decides to try to go away, and he ends up blowing up, and so does one of the other ones. Jimmy, I wrote that. Jimmy is the other one that is blown up too, this one with the blue shirt. So the only 2 remaining are Mel and John. So Mel decides to call Cole's father and tell them the location where they're running to. So while the Phoebe and Cole are on the boat, they talk about their childhood dreams, and they both kind of realize that they ended up in a situation where they're kind of living in their dreams to an extent, a little bit. Anyway, they end up in the cabin and find a hidden floor. And Mel and John arrive shortly after. And Mel has the oddest line in the movie, saying, "The future is female." Yes, that does happen. Unnecessarily, but whatever. The dad drives while the two of them sing some song. And Mel and Phoebe play some music as they kiss, and they made out. And it cuts to like a whole bunch of stuff happening to indicate that they did have the sex. And the dads shortly arrive afterwards, and Mel waits outside, guiding them towards the situation. Phoebe talks about her past, about how she felt guilty about leading her parents to their death in this car accident. She feels the guilt. And so, Mel and Phoebe are wanting to wait down there. Sorry, Cole and Phoebe. And Phoebe manages to find the code to this other safe lock. So they make their way up, and they manage to have John kill himself via bumping back into this wall, which has a loose thing above it, and then the loose horn thing falls on him. So Phoebe runs away first, and Mel kills her own father when they are left alone. And the dad drugs Cole and drives them away. So Phoebe and Mel are one-on-one, and they enter this classic fight mode. But eventually Phoebe loses and is tied up, so Cole is woken up by the noise while they're at a gas station and ends up driving off, which they make their other Terminator 2 reference around here. Mel waits and he ends up getting back, Cole does, to where Mel is. So she waits for the babysitter, the Killer Queen, which is where this title originates. And thus, the other demons, other people we saw die along the way, are able to come back with once more with Cole's blood. However, when they sample and taste the blood, they all die once more. And the Killer Queen saves both Cole and Phoebe, and tells them that the blood that was mixed from the sex is what caused the explosion to happen. As I mentioned in the beginning, sex was super important to this movie's plot. The Killer Queen takes her own life, being one of the many demons as well, and we see how she made her little pact with the devil to put this all in place as well. The dad of Cole sees all of this transpire, and that makes Cole happy as he talks to the doc from the beginning of the movie, telling him that he's back to normal, and that everything is all fine and dandy. And that was the Babysitter Killer Queen. There's plenty of blood, plenty of explosive blood punches in this movie. Based off of what I saw in the first little montage, I would assume that the first movie is very similar in that regard. Maybe to a lesser extent, I'm not sure yet. We don't spend a lot of time with these several people who want to kill Cole just for his blood, just to last a little bit longer. The most we get with them is when they first arrive after, when they're all on the boat. That's about the most we spent with all of them. And I think they were trying to go for, if I were to make a comparison, I would probably say the closest thing I can think of is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, where you have various villains in the movie, and when one of them appears, you get a little bit of a flashback and a little bit of who they were before. But these flashbacks are even briefer than the ones in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. So there's a little less context to who these characters are and what their connection is to Cole, except for what we've seen in the first movie. That all of them did, in fact, die at some point in the first movie. That's about the only other connection they have to Cole, from what I can gather. And it shows a little bit of, again, what they were doing before Mel brought them all on to do this little pact in the first place. Phoebe being, of course, the new addition to this little thing, and having her connection to Cole be their babysitter was the same, and brought them together and did all this stuff for them to solve this problem once and for all. So, I think it's okay. But I'd probably give the movie like a 6 out of 10 or like a 5 out of 10. Somewhere around there. Yeah, there's a little bit of, language stuff in here too. And I'm trying to think of anything else that I'm missing out on. I think that's about as much as I can say about this movie. So, yeah, that is my review of The Babysitter Killer Queen. And if you ended up enjoying this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head over to my Discord server, the other to my Patreon page. Any donations are greatly appreciated. Until next time, everyone, bye-bye.